Second and deciding heat, race 3 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup coming up here from Königssee in Bavaria, the town of Berchtesgaden, nestling in the Watzmann Mountains in the southeastern corner of Bavaria. Hello everybody, Martin Haven and John Morgan looking forward to a mouth-watering prospect of another record-shattering race here.
Nico Walter, Marco Hülkenberger, the 6'7" brakeman, well, they came out, posted the third best time in the first run. This is the same position that Nico Walter's been in the last two events, but he's not been able to medal. Maybe today he'll break through and get on the podium. Well, Oscars Melbardis, Thomas Drieskens, they own the start record, but they don't have the start that they used to get. Drieskens is a little hurt. He's got an Achilles problem, but hey, his drive down the track, he's starting to prove to everybody that he's just not a start monster. He didn't like his drive down, and he's in second place. They're chasing these guys. Thorsten Vargas in the brakes, Francisco Friedrich. They haven't lost a race yet this year. They're 4 for 4. And here they are, the leaders, like they've been in the last 2 weeks. They've been the leaders after the first heat in two-man, and this youngest ever junior world champion and world champion is in position to take it all again.
Yeah, Friedrich unbeaten so far this year, won the last race last year, that was the World Championships. So in the last 9 heats, he's been in front. Oscars Melbardis second, and one of Korea third in each of the 2 races so far this year. But the Korean does not look like he's going to make the podium here. The closest challenger to Nico Walter for third place is Justin Cripps of Canada, who's had a really good run in the first heat. Some big surprises in the first heat as well. Clean at the bottom of the track can give you such a turbo boost that it really makes a big difference to the performance. There is Nico Walter. Can he finally hold on to a podium spot in the two-man? Max Arndt not going to make it probably from 5th position, or 6th position as he is after the first heat, but who knows? And the Russians, well, just clinging on in the top 10 at the moment. And John Morgan, that's not a good place to be.
Yeah, the Russians are struggling. There's Francisco Friedrich, calm, his demeanor normal as he scouts out everybody. There's the Russian contingent there. They're not doing very well in two-man bobsled or four-man. It's one of our British athletes.
Yeah, Bradley Hall makes the race for the first time on his debut. And Oscars Melbardis, what can he do to rattle Francesco Friedrich somehow? Well, we'll find out in an hour. Bradley Hall, Ben Simons on their debut as a duo in the two-man go first. They made the top 20. Their teammates just outside. So we go 20 down to 1, field of 30, cut to 20 for the second heat. And the leader goes last. Both runs count. Aggregate time decides your position. Good crowd on hand on what is a beautiful Saturday afternoon in Bavaria. One of the most scenic tracks and one of the most knowledgeable crowds.
Yeah, this is like going to the Montreal Forum in hockey. I mean, this crowd here knows it's bobsled, luge, and skeleton, the heart of Bavaria. The track built in the late 60s. It's been around a long time, and it's tough, it's difficult, it's short. How about this story?
Yeah, these guys, both brakemen, they'll be racing in the four-man tomorrow. Bradley Hall, Ben Simons, 4:92 their first start, 9th fastest start.
The first of many decathletes. The driver here, Brad Hall. Ben Simmons is a sprinter. British have done a fantastic job with recruiting, taking their best pushmen and turning them into drivers here in the last year and a half. That's been what Gary Anderson, their high-performance directors, wanted, and I think it's going to prove out big time the next couple of years. It's unbelievable the athletes are putting in the 2 4-man sleds tomorrow.
Well, in the field of 30 in their first World Cup race this season, these guys made the top 20. A little bit of a rattly bend away, just as well they didn't have these dramas in the first heat.
Yeah, they didn't. He had a much cleaner run.
Well, now he can't drop out of 20th place, so the only thing that could happen is he might move up. Other people could easily make mistakes. And again, a good exit from the Kreisel, really good bottom part of the track. Hasn't got the speed he needs, perhaps, to challenge to move up.
Find out if he can match his time of 50-30 in the first run. 50-61, it's 3,100 slower. Can't tell if the track's faster or not. He had a real rough run on the exit of one of the 2 pivotal parts of the track. The exit of the S's. Schallengruber, which is German name is called snake pit in English. Here it is here, and he comes out too early. Taps, that's exactly what you don't want to do. And now the sled, you're trying to accelerate here, and these skids are like putting the brakes on, and not what this young British athlete, Bradley Hall, wanted, but he made the cut in his first World Cup. Congratulations, that's a great achievement.
There you go, biggest field we've had since the World Champs as well. So they are the leaders. Next up, and only just making it into the field, the third of our Russian sleds, Nikita Zakharov with Yuri Chubakov behind him. Zakharov, 11/100ths of a second faster than Bradley Hall.
Yeah, something happened to him at the start.
Yeah, their start.
Something happened. They had the 26th best start of 30 sleds.
Yeah.
And something happened to them because he finished 14th last week in his only event of the season so far. So let's watch them improve their start here. These two guys, 5:05, they should be 490 something, 495 something. 5:08. That's
even slower.
Yeah, I'm something wrong. I don't know about how to judge that, but this Zakharov last week didn't finish 14th place with start times like that. Maybe he's hurt.
Well, he's in the red behind Bradley Hall, and he's not having a good bend away either. Little better than Hall, couple less taps. That could close down the margin. 1:16.5, 1:10. In the next speed trap, we'll probably see him pull in front. He gets a decent run in the labyrinth.
Yeah, this is what you expect out of him. He's an experienced driver.
Takes the lead of the race. And that speed at the bottom, that's what Bradley Hall was missing, and the Russian then accelerates away. 50.37, not as quick as his first run, but he takes the lead from Bradley Hall and Ben Simons. So there's Nikita Zakharov and Yuri Chubakov in the lead, but
I don't know what to go on
screwy with their start
times.
Definitely.
And here's the exit of the S's. The snake pit because it can snake your time with a bad exit. And out here in the second pivotal part of the track, the exit of Kreisel, the Turbodrome as they call it. Those are good, nice high pressure point crossover. And watch the back end of the sled. Does it go airborne? That's the key. Keep those runners on the ice. That's pretty good.
Not bad at all. And that's why he kept speed. He didn't wipe it off on the walls. Misha McNeil there in the white hat, helping with the sled. She drove yesterday in the women's race. Now then, here's a young man who has still got lots of potential, but today couldn't find it. Oskars Kybermanis, 22-year-old Latvian, first on the ice, second quickest start, 18th at the bottom of the track.
Just, I mean, how not to do it.
Yeah.
Second best start, as you said, another high-ranking decathlete in the field.
We weren't exactly covering our eyes in horror at his first run, but as it turns out, it wasn't a good one. That was not a good hit either.
He could. I mean, he might have been the first guy down, might have been Frost on the track, something, but with the second best start in the field, you should not be in 17th, 18th place like he was.
He had a good spritz before he came down. He had perfect ice, he just didn't make the most of it.
Well, he was a little bit of a skid here out of the S's, but wasn't terrible. And this is pretty good.
Yeah.
But he's only 54/100ths. For that start, he should have been up more. That's a hard hit there.
Well, he was only a 10th in front of Zakharov in the first heat, so he's already half a second up.
Cut through here, he had problems here in the first run. Watch the back end of the sled, pretty good.
Still half a second up.
So those were much better lines. He might post a time and sit in that leader's box for 4 or 5 sleds. Oh, he lost a lot of time back.
Well, he's got more control. Maybe he's just using a more conservative runner choice because it didn't have top-end speed. He didn't hit any walls there.
500 slower in his first run.
And again, it wasn't a horror story. You've got to look at the runners as being part of the problem.
Yeah, he beat the 2300s he beat Zakharov by in both runs, 4600s. So he only beat him by that much at the bottom, 3100s at the bottom. So watch the arms come up here at the brakeman. Should come up together. That was not a perfect load by the brakeman.
Well, at the starts are fast. We know the BTC Latvia sled is fast. He didn't hit a lot of things on the way down. That leaves runner choice not being perfect for the conditions, or just more steering going on in the Kreisel than we could see.
3 Latvian sleds, top 6 last week in this 2-man competition in Winterberg. That won't happen today.
Here is another big first heat story. Rudy Rinaldi from Monaco. Bronze medalist in the Youth Olympic Games in 2012 in Eagles. And that was Monaco's first ever Winter Olympic medal. 22-year-old with 22-year-old Boris Van behind him. And these guys are suddenly exploding this season.
Well, the guy in the back is what we call a big dude. Look at the energy. Watch him get in with technique. Arms down quickly. Pretty good. 5 flat. 200 slower than their first run. Good entry in that curve 1. Keep your eye on the entry to curve 1. If you see a big transition, you hit a bump on the take on it, you lose a lot of energy and speed.
Coached by Bruno Mijon, who used to drive for Monaco, by Max Robert and Bruno Mijon, who used to compete for France and won many medals. So the knowledge pool for Rinaldi is great to draw on.
Watch the back end of the sled here as he get the exit. That looks good. Back end, it looks clean. They're finding the good line down there in the chicane.
What speed has he got? 120's high. He's going to need 120's.
It's only 100. This is right to the 100th of a second. He's got it.
The whole Kibermanis by 400.
That's unbelievable. Oskars Kibermanis, for that start time, to get beat by Monaco, tells you how much improved Monaco is. But
yes,
but Oskar Kibermanis got some wrong runners on something going, because he's finished in the top 5 in the last 2 weeks.
Rinaldi beat him by 200s in the first heat and another 200s in the second.
Look at the size of this big boy in the back.
He's a monster,
with those big hooks.
You see the bobsleigh spread as he gets in.
Here in the finish, he had great lines down here. Well, Bruno Mijon, runners and sled. Bruno Mijon knew about ice. Watch him in the take on here. Watch the sled airborne. He hits a bump going in.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of sleds have problems down there in that finish corner, and you're going uphill there.
Yeah, but he leads. Rudy Rinaldi from Monaco is the leader with a tie for 16th in the first heat with Don Young Kim of Korea to be decided one way or the other. So, over 2 heats, will it be Rinaldi or Kim who has the upper hand, and by how much? This for the lead.
This event is being televised live in Korea, the first time ever that a World Cup bobsled event's been televised, and good reason. The Koreans won medals in skeleton this morning. They've won medals 2 consecutive weeks in 2-man. And
prime time, Saturday night in Korea.
Might be a few hours difference.
Yeah. They'll be like 6-7 hours ahead of us.
497, good technique by the brakeman, but the sled drifted a little bit to the left, and he gets through the first curve without hitting that bump.
He's ahead of Rinaldi, tied to the 100th of a second in the first heat.
G-forces, you can see them get up to 3-4 Gs here in these S's. Snake pit, 4
That's a
of
good
them.
exit.
700s to 9. Might have hit hard there in that last bump.
We're playing with such tiny fractions of a second. Oh, and it's a bit wavy in the Kreisel. Good exit though. 1600s up, and that's better than Rinaldi.
He's pulling away now. Good drive. Koreans are very technically proficient in the way they approach this sport, almost the way they do it in golf. They pay a lot of attention to detail. Look at him duck his head there at the finish line.
That's a really good run. 49.88. That would have left him 10th in the first heat.
1900's better.
That's a really good run.
2100's better
from the Koreans. And this is only the second Korean sled. No wonder he's pleased with that run.
Look at the size of these guys. Watch the brakeman get in, get down. Look at the technique. Boy, and then but I don't like that. See that? They skidded right out of those drive lines.
Yep.
Maybe they ran a little bit too far. A little bit of energy lost there. Back end of the sled here. Does it come through here without getting airborne?
Not bad. Look at that. Not bad at all. That's a good line. He's buzzing, and so he should be.
And he knows where to go, to the leader's box. Yeah. Hopes he hangs out there a long time.
Kim of Korea leads from Rinaldi of Monaco with 15 sleds to come here in Königssee. Bert Hefty, until this morning, was the track record holder from 2011. Today, Bert Hefty and Andre Hürpli started 24th in a field of 30. Apart from anything else today, you have to look at that a second time and go, really? The Bert Hefty?
This is it's the 24th best start time, just as astonishing for this guy that has been the best push athlete in the sport in the last 15 years.
Oh, and a horrible hit from the brakeman.
Well, these two, it's the first time they've competed together. His brakeman Ferrari was with him the last 2 weeks as a student, couldn't get time off.
Yeah, Fontana's been with him in training, though, because Ferrari's only been able to show up for race weekends.
Plus 8. The Swiss always do well on this track. Königssee, I've seen him sweep here before. 1, 2, 3 in a World Cup. This is not the bad hefty we know.
Now this isn't cover your eyes if you're Swiss run at the moment. Hefty looks like a rookie.
He's going to fall even farther.
He is struggling for control. He could end up in last place. He's 4th out of 6 left so far.
This is unbelievable to see this former dominant athlete in the sport on the brakeman position, on the driver position, and he posts the 4th best time.
He will end up in 18th position unless somebody crashes.
To think that Kim and Ronaldo would beat Hefty, I would have put a lot of money on that before the race started.
They'd had our house offers. Never mind our shirts.
Well, this is the guy who used to be the best starting driver in the world. He was the guy that everybody said was, you know, he won a silver medal, remember, in Sochi in 2-man bobsled. But the start is where he used to dominate, and now he's just an also-ran. And
but here,
lines, the driver, he was
really an off weekend for Beard Hefty, and at a loss to explain that. It's just one of those days where it didn't work.
Here's a surprise.
Well, yeah, again, from 27th in a field of 30, Maciej Luty of Poland, 14th fastest off 19th fastest start. Out-driving your start time is hard here. Maybe out-driving your start time is easier if you're 19th and not 3rd at the start, but so.
498, so they 200's better. He had good lines all the way down the track, starting as deep as he did in the field with the ice all chopped up. He did pretty good. He's only going to go up 2-man. He's got some concussion problems from a crash in Winterberg last week, and he didn't compete in Winterberg, so he's only going to go 2-man here.
Ooh, now he's going behind Kim of Korea, not Beard Hefty, who is the man who was right behind him in the first heat. Kim was 600s up, and he's now 700s back, Luty.
This is what he did in the bottom part of the track in the first run. Big speed. He's going to need it coming uphill. Nope, not going to do it. He's going to fall at least 1 spot.
Okay, he's in 2nd at the line. He is in 2nd at the line by 1800s.
Still a good result for them.
Oh, yeah.
Top 15, Kim stays there. They like it. Nothing wrong with hanging on that leader's box. Still, this is a great result for the Poles.
Absolutely right.
I like Luty.
Absolutely right.
I was impressed with his driving here today. So for Poland, they got some hope here with this guy. And, of course, he's got some concussion syndrome from last weekend. The lines, medium, low, and the 2nd S. Here's the 3rd S. And you have 4th S, and you know the rhythm. It's all about rhythm, and you want to exit those 4 S's that they call the snake pit.
The last couple of years, he was the understudy to Martin Kupczyk. He's now Poland's #1. Simone Bertazzo of Italy, 19th starter in the field, came down 13th place.
One of the veteran pilots that Fontana is brakeman, been around for a while, and doesn't get the start time, but this is one of the best talents in the field with the eyes and the hands.
And Simone Fontana drove for Italy in the World Championships in the 2-man as well, so he's not just a brakeman, he's the future of driving.
Well, 6th best start. Hard hit into curve 1. I like that when there's that much energy that you lose in that take on the 1. We saw some good speeds by Simone Bertazzo. Little mistake there.
Advantage over the Koreans from the first heat, 1300s. It's all gone away. Speed's not good either.
No, it's gonna have to be perfect. You know, you can't gain time here on the way down. You can only prevent yourself from losing time.
Good line.
Speed's not there.
Yeah, Kim really had some flying speed at the bottom, but he's closing the margin a little.
Not going to be enough.
Not
Third
enough. Best
time in a run, so the Koreans moved up 4 places.
Yeah, Koreans beat Batatso by 2,500 on that one run.
Well, when you have the deficient start time, you can't have the mistakes down the track. And this experienced Italian pilot who last won a World Championship medal, the last one for Italy, the 2007 World Championships, 2-man and bronze medal in St. Moritz. But this mistake, you can't make that when you have a deficient start time. And watch this little bit of a drift. And again, you can't gain time on the way down. You can only prevent yourself from losing time, and he lost a lot of time there.
12th after the first of our 2 heats from Russia, Alexei Stulnev, with Kirill Antuk behind him.
Pierre Lutters, the coach, on the right. There's the Korean leaders.
We're not even in the top 10. We're already at the second of our 3 Russian sleds, and none of them made the top 10 in the first heat. That's not going to make for a very happy bunny with Pierre Lutters watching this.
I don't know if these guys will be able to go home for Christmas. They'll be training. Their start times are suspect.
They might be in the ice house at Sochi every day, including Christmas Day.
21st best start in the first run. So 5:02. This driver has been wounded. 5 flat, better start, but not by much. He crashed in Altenburg at 4-man, and we've told the story a number of times. He had 6 stitches in his right knee. He just got him out last Monday, so he hasn't been able to run and train, but he's been competing because he needs the points. Look how low he is sitting in the sled. That's a Pierre Lutters style. Pierre Lutters, the former Canadian gold medalist, coaching the Russian program.
Won World Championship gold on this track, didn't he? And as a result, his coach Gerd Grimmer had to go and jump in the lake naked.
Good speed. He's only got 300s. This is going to be right to the 100.
Really tight.
Boy, real tight.
Really tight.
Held on.
Just held on. Nothing like the speed down the ice of the Koreans on this run. So he survived on his first heat performance.
Yeah, 5th best start time, 5 flat. Koreans beat him by 400s at the start.
2,500s down the run.
Yeah.
The Korean had a great drive.
How's the back end of the sled here? Not bad through the doodles, they call that chicane down there. And then look at these lines here into the Echo Vond. The speed down here is so important. He's up a little high.
Well, Alexei Stulnev at least holds his position, and he was only 100th behind his teammate Alexander Kasyanov. And Stulnev, 21st start in the field, wasn't even the slowest of the Russians. That was Kasyanov, 22nd fastest start in a field of 30. Beaten by Italy, by Poland, by Monaco, by Korea.
Yeah, Kasyanov, very disappointing, 22nd best start.
Stephen Holcomb with a thigh strain started as fast. Can they move it into
they're not
the
good
fours?
there, that drift.
5:03, it's slower.
And he had a drift there. 7th best start speed, 8th best start. Good drive, good driver, but boy, you have to be perfect here. You can't make a mistake in this track. This track doesn't allow much perfection unless you're Martin's Ducars, skeleton.
And when they're that slow at the top, it's like they're racing with a 2-litre engine in a 3-litre field.
On,
yeah. Kasyanov is sagging behind. Stulnev's going to lead at the moment. Kasyanov is 3rd behind Kim of Korea.
Yeah, he can fall 2 more places. This is good speed here in the bottom. He's going to need it. I don't know if it's going to be enough. It's down to 5, right to the 100. I think he's going to nip the Korean by at least 100.
Just go into 2nd.
Yeah,
tied. Tied with the Korean Kim, so he doesn't even beat Korea.
Look at Pierre Lutters, the expression in his face. Raise no happy Christmas for the Russians coming up.
We could come back in a month and still have that expression on his face, because nothing's going to change it between now and late.
They better improve in the 4-man tomorrow, and these guys will be running sprints in the morning.
Oh boy.
And the start, watch him drift here. This is something happened. Look at him come out of the drive lines. He's got control now of the sled. Look at it drift to the right.
That's because he took his hands off to thumb the handle in.
And that little drift, that deals with deficient start time, and then that drift.
Alexei Stulnev leads from teammate Alexander Kazyanov, and Kim of Korea tied in second spot. 10 still to come here in Königssee. We had an entertaining first heat in this third race in the two-man bobsleigh World Cup. There are still more questions than answered in the second heat. We've had some great drives from emerging drivers and some very disappointing ones from what should be established stars.
Well, there's a lot of storylines coming up here in the final 10 sleds. There's
Chris Spring there on the left in the
Gary Anderson here on the right, the high-performance director
yeah.
for the British program. I really like what he's implemented with the British program, and we'll see some blistering start times tomorrow from both British sleds, and the return of Jacko Jackson to the field.
Jacko in the four-man. You can see lots of red jackets from Korean officials here being taking their jury tests, and also got people who are going to be running the track in Pyeongchang when it opens next year. There is Alexei Stulnev on the left, Kirill Antuk on the right.
He's from a good track and field family. I think his sister won an Olympic medal in London.
I think you're right, yes. He told us that, didn't he?
No, his sister won. So they're from a great sprinting background.
She's a sprinter or a jumper, yes, exactly right. Well, where did that come from? Somewhere in the depths of the filing cabinet that is the John Morgan brain. Well, big grandstands down here. They inaugurated that, didn't they, in the World Championships in 2004. They had temporary bleachers that were just a wall of sound. The athletes were blown away by it. Then they had a big fire down in the finish corners, and they got a chance to rebuild all the finish area. And the final corners, new administrative building, press rooms, and they put in these permanent grandstands down by the finish.
The crowd's about 5 deep all the way down. It's beautiful.
And the bobsleigh track in the ground here, so the sleds come by at knee height. Martin Haven, John Morgan, trackside at Königssee in Bavaria. The last pre-Christmas race for two-man bobsleigh, heat 3 of the BMW IBSF World Cup, and we're in the second and deciding runs. Top 10 sleds to come, and among them we have 2 of our 3 Latvian crews. This is Uga Zalims and Intars Dambis, lying in 10th after the first heat.
6th best start in the first run. These are some, we're going to start seeing some talent now. 487. 487 again, consistency. The next 7 sleds are separated by a 10th. 6 sleds. I mean, it's so close. Yeah, flinch here, and you could drop 4 or 5 places.
Yeah, 1 hit in the wrong place in your history.
Runner tips. Oh, 1 hit, 2 hits. 3 hits, 4. That's 1 too many.
Yeah, it's that first hit on the right that you've got to avoid.
Now watch the sled as he exits. Another slingshot effect here in the bottom. Chance for
good run.
This is good run. Nice line. Back end of the sled did not vary at all. Speed's decent.
Yeah, 123, 123.7.
Not pulling
That's very
away.
good.
Third best speed. He's got enough. He's going to win by 22, 21. There it is. You can see that pretty easy when you look at our screen, and you can see the speed. That speed in Ecovon just tells you everything, because you exit going uphill. And any mistakes in this sport going uphill, magnified quickly.
Well, you can see his consistency. His 2 runs just 0.06 of a second different.
Little drift here. This was costly. Tap on the exit of the 4th S, the snake pit. Perfectly positioned, eyes barely above the cowling, and this this is a Eurotech sled.
So Alexei Stulnev offers his congratulations to Uga Zalims, who takes the lead of the race with 9 to come. And as John pointed out, a very tight battle here. 2 American sleds up next, separated by 1/100th of a second. First on the ice, Nick Cunningham, 9th place. 4th last week with Sam McGuffey in the 2-man race in Winterberg. And he could move up here as well. A good second run, because his first was a little ugly.
Yeah, you know, the 12th best start. 4th place last week, very impressive. came from like 8th to 4th. McGuff, they're very high on this brakeman. Played tailback, University of Michigan, transferred to Rice. Football player instinct, of course.
Set.
Cunningham, a decathlete from Boise State. Going to need a start time a little bit better than they had. 496, good technique by a rookie brakeman.
493, all good
300's better.
improvements.
Only the third best start speed.
Chasing Uge Salims after the first heat. He was 400s in front of the Latvian.
That's not good. That's not good
And
at all.
that's exactly what happened in the first run.
Now it's going to be pretty tough for him to stay in his position with that type of contact on the exit of the S's.
So match his first run. He was smooth.
Down here is pretty good for those mistakes he just made.
Not bad at all.
Now the Latvian sled didn't have great speed down here, so no, he doesn't have good speed either.
He's going to stay behind.
Now he's got it down to 3. He does have good speed. He could come from behind. He does.
Green, how has he done that?
Wow. BMW on the bottom part of the track there. So for all those mistakes, and there's the coach who can only look on it. Nick, if you didn't make those mistakes up top, what would you have on the bottom?
That bend away killed him in both runs. That could have been a top 4 finish in both runs.
But we just see it pop up on our commentator information screen here, the speeds, and you can see he had it on the bottom part of the track. Here's up on top where he made his mistake, though. That's the exit of the 4th S.
Yeah.
Too early.
Comes down hard
And then he tried to steer away. I mean, that's worth 15, 20 hundredths. And then down here in Echelon, though, the speeds. We talk about the speeds down here.
Stays out of the frost, and that'll help.
Look at, he has the 6th best speed, but the Russian sleds went a little earlier, and you can see that. But most importantly, he had the better speed against the Latvian sled that just came down. And
all right, Cowboys still in the lead. 8 to go. Next up, your teammates, Stephen Holcomb with Frank Del Duca behind him, another rookie brakeman this season.
Del Duca making his rookie debut in the back of a sled. Track and field athlete from the University of Maine. Gets in, gets down. Holcomb struggles at the start. He's wounded.
Got flat. That's quicker than their first heat.
See if Holcomb can take the fine line down through the 4 S's. And you want to exit with rhythm. And the rhythm be interrupted if you hit the wall on the left.
Good exit.
That's good exit. +9. That's related to the start.
But he'll get all that back with a good run just down the bend away.
Back of the sled, though. He's got to have a perfect exit here. And he's got to get through the chicane smooth to have some speed here. Options on the bottom. He's got it down to 2. That's a perfect line.
Holcomb's taking the lead.
This is going to be, he's got the lead now. The question is, how much can he move up? Steve Holcomb looks impressive. This is his best outing.
In front of Cunningham. And they were 100th apart in the first heat. They're still 100th apart. They produced exactly the same run, a 49.82 from both sleds. 100th apart over 2 runs down the track.
But Holcomb got beat by Cunningham by 14 hundredths at the start, and he reversed the tables at the bottom with some good driving. Cunningham had it going without that skid out of the S's. Holcomb was perfect. This is his best day of the season.
Yes,
good for him. He's got an upper quad injury, and maybe Steve Holcomb's going to come back onto health because everybody knows he's got the eyes and the hands to negotiate these tight, quick turns on any bobsled track in the world. And this combination here in the Kreisel is as tight and quick as any place on the planet. Look at the crossover here. This is so minute. There's no room for error. Holcomb nailed it.
This is a man who 2 weeks ago was sitting in at the start of a race. Now, Yoon Jung-won of Korea, 7th place. The medals are 2.5 tenths of a second away. What can one do?
A lot of pressure here. 486 in the first run. Good technique by the brakeman. 486. Exact precision. The Koreans are approaching this sport with every detail that you need. Their athletes are young, and they've been in the sport 5-6 years, and they got a lot of success. Look at these lines.
Great line.
Oh, he's playing with the steering there, though.
That's okay. He's still got speed. He's still the leader. 1/4 of a second up on Stephen Holcomb, 2- and 4-man world champion.
Down to 15. Ooh, that's not perfect, but that's going to be enough time.
That's good.
It's got to be enough time.
124, 125 kilometers an hour from the BTC sled.
Coming back a little bit. He's
124.3.
going to win by single digits. 7/800ths.
But he will be in front by 800ths. 49.76 run.
The Holcomb and Del Duca know that they got beat at the start.
Yeah. And that's fixable. 3 weeks of rest and recuperation. Holcomb's going to be a lot faster in late classes.
Holcomb's very happy with that result going into
is.
Christmas. He'll take that. That's a Christmas present for him. He needed an attitude adjustment. Look at the size of the thighs on these guys. Now watch the brakeman get in here and watch the technique. Watch him get in with cat-like movements. Now watch his arms come up in cohesion. He doesn't alter the sled. He takes the big frame, bends it into an aerodynamic position, and this is great drive down the track.
Yep.
Watch the runner tips here. Felt a little uncomfortable there in that drift.
Yeah,
hit
just
hard.
Wanted to take a little bit less of a hit, but without cutting the ice to slow it down as he steered. So, Yeonjun Won of Korea is our race leader with 6 to go. Max Arndt, double four-man world champion, with the giant Kevin Kuska back behind him. Kuska had last year away from the ice, recovering after surgery.
Watch the
Look at him.
technique on this brakeman.
What a beast.
And the Koreans, they're at the leader box. They've won 2 medals the last 2 weeks in the sport. And watch this huge man in the back get in. Watch his arms come up. Those meat hooks and get in, get down. Ooh, little jump out of those drive lines.
Got a good run through turn 1.
Yeah, Art's a fantastic driver, and he's going to need to be fantastic down here because the Korean had great lines. Korean beat him on the start decisively.
Arndt's old sparring partner Manny Mahata back in Germany after a couple of weeks in China, where he is kick-starting their bobsled program.
I saw Manny earlier today here at the track. Now the speed, he's going to need to be perfect here. Down to 8. Still got a chance.
Here we go. He's going to claw his way back. 124 he needs from the FES sled.
Down to 3, down to 10. I don't think he's going to do it.
Not enough.
He might fall behind Holcomb. He does.
Fourth fastest run. Sixth fastest
one
run.
down.
Fourth, but he falls behind Holcomb and Cunningham.
Both. But heck, he's just getting his practice in for the four-man. You know, he's the world champion 2 consecutive years in four-man bobsled and doesn't get the start times his teammates do. Well, watch the meat hooks here and this guy coming in the back. But he drifts to the right.
Yeah.
That little drift, I think, is suspect.
Doesn't rub the wall, just gets eased away by the ice.
Then down here, these lines look pretty good to me.
Watch the runner tips. Absolutely no flinching from the driver. I'm happy with that. I'll take the first tap.
Quiet.
We're good to go.
And he can drive the four-man as good as anybody.
Yes, sir. Max Arndt of Germany in 4th place, though, as Won of Korea still leads from Holcomb and Cunningham. We have 5 to go. Medals up for grabs. Rico Peter for Switzerland, 8th fastest starter, 5th fastest driver down this track, with Thomas Amrine on the back of the Swiss sled. Well, last year was Rico Peter's breakout year. This year he's keeping that pressure on the lead group.
He hits everything in sight and still fast at the bottom.
If he can tidy up his second run compared to his first, he should be in the medals.
491. First heat, 490, better. So 5th best start speed, though. It's not bad considering the start efficiency. 200s down. And he was sideways here out of the S's in the first run and still was fast in the bottom. And he's not smooth again.
And like Cunningham, the same errors. Clatter, 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 pinball wizard down the bend away.
Still got green numbers.
Yeah, still got speed. He was only 400s in front of the Koreans after the first heat.
Look how low he is in the sled. Look at the lines.
There we go.
Here comes into the Echo Vond. This is the straightaway going uphill in front of us right here. Needs to be perfect. It's the 200s.
Slower than the Koreans. Will he hold?
Ducks his head at the bottom and he takes them. Listen, I don't know how, but he hits everything in sight and he's fast.
There's some magic going on in there.
Swiss have always done well on this track. Rado Gochi, Martin Annan, Gustav Vader, the Rube brothers. Swiss have got some great results on this track. Watch this. Look how low he is, first of all. And he did this. It was worse than the first heat. This will be the worst line in the top 5 sleds, no doubt. And in the old days, they used to say, rough is fast, smooth is you're steering too much. Rico.
Servus, Rico. Yeah, that bend away is just bugging him. 4 to go. Justin Cripps out of the medals by a 10th. Can he take a medal, get himself back on the podium here where he won his first ever World Cup race?
Alexander Kopacz on the back. He's a shot putter. Attends a sports institute here in Germany. Cripps won this event 2 years ago, as we just already mentioned. 488 start. First run, the big meat hooks. Kopacz come in, 488 exact. Second best start speed. Ooh, a hard hit there and won. I didn't like that. But Cripps, the international man of mystery. He's got 3 different passports. Out of nowhere, won this race a couple years ago. Bronze medal last year.
Good exit.
Perfect line.
1400s up on the Koreans after the first heat.
Some people just like certain tracks. Cripps, I think he likes this one.
10th up on Rico Peter.
Kelly Humphreys' female teammate won here yesterday.
1200s still has the advantage over Rico Peter, but he's shooting in front. He's looking for medals.
Gonna lose a lot of speed back there. Fifth best
At the
speed.
bottom, 123.2 to take the lead
By 200.
200.
This is bobsledding, boy.
Well, he's not going to get a medal with that run, I don't think.
Well, don't say that.
No, 49.84. That's nearly 2/10 slower than his first heat. He needed to at least match his pace. Best run of the season.
I don't
though.
like this hard hit.
Yeah.
See, that's bad energy right there. You've got to be over to the right a little bit. Here, the little sideways airborne, that wasn't perfect. That's why he was 1200ths ahead, the exit of Kreisel, and ended up only 2. He gets to the left side here, too. So not a perfect run by the Justin Cripps.
First run was definitely a better run of the 2, but both count.
No worse than
Kopacz on
no
the
worse
left.
than 4th.
No worse than
Best
4th.
result for him of the season.
Happy Christmas. And that still doesn't allow for somebody else making an error. Cripps, our leader, was a 10th behind Nico Walter, who after 2 races this season has seen a 3rd place medal slip away on both occasions. Surely not again.
6'7", Marco Huckenberger in the back. Gives up a little time at the start, this former loser. Burst out of the scene last year. 2nd at the World Championships in 4-man. 497. He gives up time at the start. That's 300 slower. The last 2 consecutive races that you mentioned, Martin, he's fallen out of the medals with a bad second run.
He was a 10th ahead of Cripps, lost 1300s to Cripps at the start alone. Now...
That's not good. But he was fast on the bottom. Looks like he corrected.
Oh, not as bad as Cripps, but...
Cripps was not good on the bottom.
700ths of a second in it. This will decide it. The exit here will either win or lose in the
This
medal.
looks smoother.
He's coming.
Speed is
High. Speed is high.
Great
125's very good.
He's clean there, down to 2. He's going to win by a couple hundredths.
In the medals, Nico Walter at the line by a 100th of a second. Cripps can't believe it.
So finally, Nico Walter gets the monkey off his back. 2 consecutive weeks, he succumbed to the pressure. Today, he delivered with some superior speed on the bottom part of a German track.
Lightning apparently does not strike 3 times.
So, by a 100th, that poor Cripps loses the medal by a 100th.
Not necessarily, still 2 to go.
Look at I think he had a problem getting in there.
Yeah, caught his knees on the cow.
Look at the size of those meat hooks coming up and down. 6'7", and all of a sudden he disappears in the back.
Hubenbecker, you always think he's fallen out. You never see
Look
him.
at the runner tips. He's trying to gain control, but he doesn't steer away too much. And
Nah.
boy, he hung in there for a 100th.
100th of a second.
Come on, Nico, 2 bad weeks. You finally got a break.
Yeah, look at Alex. He's laughing. He knows how important it is to these 2 guys. And the Canadians are not yet off the podium. There are 2 to go. Walter leads, Krips second, Peter third. Next up, Latvia's Oskars Melbardis and Damas Dreiskens. Last year, Melbardis, the World Cup champion in 2-man and 4-man bobsleigh, has not won this year.
240 pounds, these two guys average. These are 2 big boys, and they can run like deer. They're a little wounded, though. Dreiskens has got an Achilles injury. Doesn't get the starts they usually get. 483, not bad. 200's better than he had in the first run.
And 1400's better than Nico Walter.
Now, he's going to have to say, put down his perfect run of the season and say to Francisco Friedrich, come and get me.
Yeah, this isn't about Walter. This is about gold. This is about beating Friedrich.
This is the World Cup champion from last year.
Versus the world champion from last year. This is what we want, the best of the best.
Look at these lines. These are perfect. Boy, the speed. He's accelerating away.
4/10 up and change.
125 kilometers
He's
an
gonna
hour.
blow.
78 miles an hour in the finish.
Blow Walter out of the water here. And
Man, this is fast.
Not quite.
49.57. So he's only 900 slower. Another silver medal for Mr. Consistent Oskars Melbardis.
Yeah.
Decathlete in the front seat, basketball player in the back, and these are the 2 biggest men in the field. Look at the size of these 2 guys. Now watch how big this 250-pound man in the back gets in. The meat hooks come up, get down, and watch him disappear. Look, takes his time, aerodynamic profile perfect, driving new Eurotech sleds.
And it's interesting, as you say, he doesn't bounce in immediately.
No.
He just
Gets in with
softly eases his arms in.
Cat-like movements to the perfection.
Gets in the sled and then wriggles his shoulders in. The sled's narrower than he is, but he doesn't shift it sideways.
Didn't take any time going, these 2. Couple more decathletes right here.
2 wins out of 2 starts in 2-man and in 4-man.
The best start of the competition.
Wow.
And he hasn't lost a heat yet.
Double world champion in 2-man bobsleigh.
Just is developing into one of the German legends that we've known in the past.
And that's why, look at that exit. That is as clean as you can get.
He has the best speed, the best starts, the best equipment.
Quarter of a second up.
He's developing now into the best driver in the world. Look at these lines. He won the 4-man last week coming from behind. Today he's running away with the event.
Track record might be under threat again from Francesco Friedrich. 49.29 in the first heat. Doesn't get there, but he wins it comfortably. His 3rd straight race win in 2-man of the season. He started 5 races this year. He's won all 5. There's the 4-man to come tomorrow.
Andre Lange, the recent German dominator. And then you go back to Christoph Lange, who's his coach, who we saw doing the Jawohlmeister up at the top of the track. And you go to Wolfgang Hoppe, and you go way back to Wolfgang Zimmer. He's putting himself way up there on top of the leaderboard with German legends, this kid. And he's, what's he, 25 years old?
25 years old, and he's already putting
humble.
His name in that
He's a very humble athlete. Look
and don't underestimate the input of Torsten Margis there, the world champion brakeman.
7,800 point decathlete.
That is a team. Your winners for the 3rd straight time this season in 2-man. Fantastic performance going away, and Melbardis can just smile at, you know, what have we got to do? And Oskars Melbardis, Damas Dreiskens, they had their season of seasons last year, but this year, since February in the World Championships, these 2 have been unbroken.
Well, when you're the best start and you drive better than anybody else, you blow the field away. And that's all this guy's done in 5 races. And I don't know if anybody could catch him. The only thing maybe if he injures himself, somebody might catch him. But, you know, again, he's 25.
Yeah, he bounces. Francesco Friedrich, Torsten Margis, your winners by 2800s. Nico Walter takes third ahead of Justin Cripps, Rico Peda, one of Korea in sixth, and then Stephen Holcomb, Nick Cunningham. Good weekend for the Americans after a tough season last year. They're seventh and eighth. But the Russians, what are they going to do? It's a tough time for them. And Bradley Hall, Ben Simons, the rookies, top 20 finish on their debut. Wow, so many different tales already in the two-man race. We still have tomorrow's four-man encounter to conjure with. But Francesco Friedrich now going to have to start going back to see how many more times we have seen consistent runs in two-man and four-man. We don't have to go back very far. We only have to look at last year when Francesco was trying to catch Oskars Melbardis, who was the four-man in two-man and four-man. So we're starting to compare two great drivers with greats of the past. I don't think it's too early to do that either. Melbardis is going to be one of the big names that people will recall in years to come, and so too is Francesco Friedrich. Well, 3 German tracks to start the season. We then go to North America, to Lake Placid, to Park City, Utah, and to Whistler. Tracks that Friedrich does not know well. Is that going to make a difference? We'll have to wait and see. He certainly is in imperious form, and he and Torsten Margis have never looked more potent. They're in sensational form in the World Championships. Big starts, big drives. They weren't the fastest starters then, but they are now. And the German crowd have a German 1-3 here. Max Arndt in 9th place, but he could well challenge for medals in the four-man race. Crowd being whipped up to a fever pitch for the presentations. Francesco Friedrich doing it again for Germany with Torsten Margis, his reliable brakeman behind him. Phenomenal combination they have proved to be so far this season. Sun is starting to fade here in Berchtesgaden, Bavaria, but not for Francesco Friedrich. 3 starts, 3 wins in the bobsleigh two-man World Cup. Oskars Melbardis, 2 silver medals. Yun Jong Melbardis, 3 silver medals, 1, 2 silvers and a 6 today off the podium for the first time, as Nico Walter makes it on, and he will start to climb the order. Last year's World Cup champion Oskars Melbardis lying in 2nd place, but lots of names to conjure with after a fascinating two-man race here in the pre-Christmas outing at Königssee in Bavaria. After this, they have 3 weeks off, and then they head to Lake Placid, to Park City, Utah, and to Whistler for the North American Tour. Will that change the balance of power? All that remains to be seen. What we know now is what we knew in February in Winterberg. Best in the world, Francesco Friedrich and Torsten Margis. Then he doubled up on his 2013 junior and senior two-man world championship and won another two-man gold world title. He didn't win the four-man then, but come the Worlds in Eagles this year, might be worth some money. He's won every four-man race so far this season, as well as every two-man race. And tomorrow could just bring him the triple. Well, there is the view down the hill from this Königssee track to the lake at the bottom that gives us its name, the tiny village of Schönau am Königssee on the far left, just out of your shot. And the Wasatch Mountains, Watzmann Mountains, I beg your pardon. We're going to the Wasatch Mountains after Christmas. The Watzmann Mountains and the Kelstein just above us. There's the bendaway on the left-hand side, that sinuous white track. That's what is laughingly called the straight here. As you can see, it's actually 3 corners, none of which are numbered. And people say the Germans have no sense of humour. Well, let's see our podium finishers. They're trying to manoeuvre sleds out of the way. And the crowd will go happy, not just from the Glühwein stands, but from big performance from Francesco Friedrich. He's originally from Pirna. The Altenburg track is his home track, but he is fast becoming one of Germany's big sporting superstars, and rightly so. It'll be very entertaining to see what he can produce when we get to North America. He doesn't know the tracks as well. However, good drivers learn fast. Look at some of the Korean athletes, particularly their skeleton slider. Well, there is your podium. On the right, Nico Walter and the giant Marco Hubenbecker. On the left, Damas Dreskins, and the far left, Oskar Melbardis. But in the center, in the blue hat, Francesco Friedrich, and in the black hat, Torsten Margis, your race winners here in Königssee, as they were a week ago in Winterberg and 2 weeks ago in Altenburg. Peter van Wees, former skeleton slider, now member of the IBSF board, presents the awards. Here for an executive meeting, Ben Sanford's in town as well. So I look forward to catching up with them. But there are your top three here. Justin Cripps, Rico Peter, and Yoon Jung-won of Korea, rounding out the top half dozen. But it's another win for Friedrich. Will he do it again after Santa has been? Only one way to find out. Join John Morgan, me, and the rest of the crew when we rejoin in 3 weeks in Lake Placid, upstate New York. Until then, auf Wiedersehen and goodbye.